Hi class, how's your day going? I hope you're doing fine. But now we were going to tackle about two topics. So we have here prescriptivism and equality of language and written and spoken language. So hi class, are you ready to know about prescriptivism? So prescriptivism is attitude or belief that one variety of language is superior to the others and should be promoted as such. Like for example, perspectivism is the belief that language should follow strict rules about correct grammar, spelling, and usage on how it is used correctly. Common examples of perspectivism. And also an attitude to language use that makes judgments about what is right and what is wrong, and holds language up to an ideal standard that should be maintained. Prescriptivism emphasizes the rules of correct, proper usage of grammars, dictates of good and bad grammar, control and regulate language use. Okay, we have prescriptivist. So when we say prescriptivist, it is the person who promoter of prescriptivism. Informally known as a stickler, is the attitude of policing the correct use of a language and scolding or correcting its usage is incorrect or illogical. So as what I've said earlier, when we say prescriptivist, it is the person, or it is someone who is studying about prescriptivism. Okay, so we have here prescriptivist, Robert Lane Grains, Lane Truss, Modern Commons, Ticker List. So those person who study prescriptivism, and they are called prescriptivists.
Prescriptive grammar. Essentially a manual that focuses on conjunctions where usage is divided and lays down rules governing that socially correct as the language. These grammars are formative influence on language attitude in Europe and America during the 18th and 19th century. Actively tries to define language rules, can say if a part speech is wrong, attempts to standardize language, less concerned on real-world usage, format. So, based here, prescriptive grammar is a type of grammar that focuses on the rules of the correct usage of grammar. So let's say, for example, the word will, when it comes to constructing a sentence, the word will be often used to express future tense, while when reconstructing a sentence that is about expressing conditional or hypothetical situations, the correct usage of word or grammar is the word would. Prescriptive grammarians are judgmental and attempt to change linguistic behavior of a particular sort and in a particular direction. Linguistic or mental grammarians, on the other hand, seek to explain the knowledge of language that guides people's everyday use of language regardless of their schooling. Taught in schools and exercises a range of social effect. They often view language as a fixed entity that must be protected from errors, variations, or changes. In other words, the prescriptive grammarians are those who make judgments or corrections for someone's error for their essay making. Let's say, for example, a teacher marks students as incorrect for their essay making for using the phrase me and my friends instead of my friends and I. So next is prescriptive grammarians. So if we have prescriptive grammar, we also have prescriptive grammarians. So based on my understanding, prescriptive grammarians are those who believe in establishing and enforcing rules for language use.
Next is descriptivist. Descriptivist is a person who analyzes and describes how language is used. Okay, so for me, descriptivist is the person who discover how language being used in every particular way.
Descriptivism involves observing and analyzing, not making correction, focuses on language users, modify language.
So let's discuss about prescriptivism and descriptivism.
Prescriptivism is an authoritarian version of code law If the rule book says this is the law, that's the descriptivism is like common law which work on precedent and accumulates slowly over time. In essence, prescriptivism tells you how language should be used, whereas descriptivism describes how it is actually used by speakers without passing judgment on whether it is correct. Prescriptivism is the belief that language should be used in accordance with a set of strict rules that dictate what is correct usage.
So, language equality challenges the idea that some languages are less complex or less developed than others. It points out that in the past, people often assume that languages spoken by primitive culture lack of proper grammar or very basic. It also implies that all languages are equally complex and capable of expressing the thoughts and needs of their speaker. The idea of language equality is that no language is inherently better or worse than other. Written and spoken language.
Written and spoken language. The key difference between spoken and written language is that spoken language is dynamic and contextual, while written language is static and explicit. Spoken language relies on nonverbal cues, tone, and context for meaning. Written language requires clear syntax, grammar, round punctuation for understanding.
Okay, so we have here written language. Written language is a way of communicating using visual symbols like letters or characters to represent spoken language on a physical surface. So, allowing information to be shared and preserved over time through reading and writing. Essentially, it's the written form of a language. Like for example, letters, emails, books, articles, text messages. So, those are under written language.
So we have here spoken language. Simply means language that is communicated through speaking. So spoken language, using sounds produced by the mouth as opposed to written language or sign language, is the act of talking to convey ideas and information. To sum it up, spoken language, we communicate orally using our mouth.